Claire Monroe sat alone in the cold metal cell. The lights above flickered, and the air smelled like rust and dust. She hugged her knees, trying not to cry again. Her wrists were sore from the metal cuffs, and her clothes were torn. She had lost track of time. There were no windows, no clocks, and no voices except for the guards who came now and then to ask questions and shout at her in a language she barely understood. Claire was 17 and had come to Veltraxia as part of an exchange program. She had been so excited. It was the first time Earth allowed students to visit the alien world. She had written letters to her mom every day, describing the strange plants, floating buildings, and blue skies. But all that changed 2 weeks ago, when she was taken. One morning, after class, a black vehicle stopped in front of the school. Armed soldiers rushed in. They called her name and pulled her away. She screamed for help, but no one moved. Her classmates looked down, afraid. The teachers turned their backs. Claire had no idea why this was happening. She was thrown into the vehicle and driven far from the city. Her questions were ignored. When she fought back, they hit her. When she cried, they laughed. At first, she thought it was a mistake. Maybe they confused her with someone else. But the truth was worse. The guard believed Claire was a spy. They said humans couldn't be trusted, that she was gathering secrets for Earth's military. She tried to explain she was just a student, just a girl. But they didn't listen. They didn't want to listen. Days passed in the dark cell. She was given little food and water. Sometimes they asked her the same questions again and again. Other times, they left her alone for hours. Her body ached, and her spirit felt like it was fading. She began to whisper to herself to stay sane. She told herself stories about home. She thought of her mother's voice and her dog waiting by the door. She remembered the sound of rain on her bedroom window. But the pain always returned, and with it came fear. One night, after a long session of shouting in pain, Claire curled up on the floor. Her face was bruised, and her lip was bleeding. She felt like no one would ever find her. Maybe Earth had forgotten about her. Maybe they didn't know where she was. She looked up at the ceiling and whispered, "Please, someone help me." Far above Veltraxia, in the orbiting satellite net, a signal was picked up. A hidden implant in Claire's body had finally broken through the jamming field. It was weak, but it was enough. The signal reached Earth. In a dark command room beneath a mountain, a red light blinked on a console. Colonel Jared Cole leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. He read the name on the screen, Claire Monroe. Status, captured. Location, confirmed. He didn't speak. He just pressed a button. Elsewhere on Earth, 3 people received silent alerts. Mason Doyle, deep in the woods, training alone. Elena Grant, practicing stealth moves in a wind tunnel. Levi Brooks, adjusting the power levels on a new weapon. Each of them dropped what they were doing. Each of them opened a locked case. The mission had begun. Claire did not know it yet, but her whisper had been heard. Help was coming, and it would arrive like a storm. Colonel Jared Cole stared at the screen in front of him. The red signal was still blinking. Claire Monroe's name stayed there, a reminder of what had happened. Jared didn't like politics. He didn't like delays. What he liked was action. Claire was a young girl from Earth, taken and hurt by aliens. He could not let that go. He walked into the war room, where only a few trusted people worked. These people were not regular soldiers. They were part of Division 9. This group did not exist on paper. It was secret. It was made for missions like this. Jared pressed a button and said, "Wake them up." The first to get the call was Mason Doyle. He was deep in the forest, sharpening a knife when his communicator buzzed. Mason read the message and stood up without a word. He packed his gear and walked toward his hidden jet bike. His face was calm, but his eyes burned. He had seen many battles. This was personal. A human girl was in pain. He was going to get her out. Elena Grant was the next. She was running across rooftops in a training city when the message flashed on her visor. She stopped, looked at the alert, and changed direction. Elena didn't talk much. She didn't have to. Her actions were louder than words. She had never failed a mission. Levi Brooks was in an underground lab, testing a new grenade launcher. The alert showed up on a small screen on his wrist. He laughed to himself and said, "About time." He dropped the tool in his hand, grabbed his armor, and walked out. Levi liked building things, but he liked blowing them up even more, when the reason was right. All three met at a secret base in the Nevada desert. Jared waited for them in the dark hangar. He nodded as they arrived. "The mission is simple," Jared said. "Claire Monroe, age 17, captured on Beltraxia. She's being held by a group outside the main government. They hate humans. She's not safe." Mason asked, "What's the plan?" Jared showed a hologram of the alien planet. "We drop you in the forest near the base. You find the girl, bring her out, and send a message. Make them afraid to touch another human again." Elena looked at the map. "Do we have her exact location?" Jared pointed to a red dot. "This is where the signal came from. She's alive, but we don't know for how long." Levi cracked his knuckles. "We'll make sure she walks out." They suited up. Each had special gear. Mason wore light armor and carried silent blades. Elena had a stealth suit and a sniper rifle. Levi wore heavy gear and packed explosives. Their ship was small, black, and quiet. No one would see it coming. As they flew toward Beltraxia, the team checked their weapons and watched the planet get closer. The sky around the world was blue and green. It looked peaceful from space, but they all knew what waited below. Inside the ship, Mason looked at the picture of Claire, her school photo. She smiled in it. It made his jaw tighten. This girl was innocent. She came to learn, not to suffer. He was going to bring her home. When the ship reached orbit, the pilot dropped them in a pod. It was fast, small, and silent. The pod fell through the sky and landed in a thick forest, far from cities and patrols. They moved fast through the woods, using the map Jared gave them. They didn't speak much. They didn't need to. Each knew what to do. Elena climbed a tall tree and used her scope to look ahead. She saw a metal fence and a square building hidden between cliffs. "Target found," she said through the comm. Mason signaled for silence. They crouched in the bushes and watched the guards. Beltraxian soldiers walked in circles, holding long rifles. They wore masks and armor. The building had only one door, but there were vents near the top. Levi grinned. "Give me 10 minutes." He crawled through the bushes, placing small charges near the fence. Mason and Elena moved to cover him. Once the charges were set, Levi gave a nod. "Ready." Mason whispered, "Go loud." The fence exploded in a flash. Smoke rose. Guards shouted in surprise. Elena fired, hitting 2 targets fast. Mason ran ahead, blade ready. Levi walked behind, tossing smoke bombs. They were inside. The mission to save Claire Monroe had begun. The building was full of smoke and noise. Sirens screamed and lights flashed red. The guards inside ran in confusion. They did not expect an attack. They did not expect humans to come. Mason moved fast through the hall. He stayed low and silent. His knife was ready. A guard turned a corner, and Mason took him down with one clean move. He dragged the body into the shadows and kept moving. Elena watched everything from above. She had climbed into the rafters of the big storage room. Her rifle was silent but deadly. She picked off enemies one by one. Every shot counted. She didn't miss. Levi moved near the walls, placing small charges at key spots. He knew how to break buildings. He also knew how to bring them down. He looked at the map on his wrist and followed the power lines. If he cut the lights, it would help them. The building was made of gray stone and black steel. It was cold, like a place built to keep people inside forever. Most of the rooms were locked, and the doors were thick. Mason found one open room. It had old blankets, empty bowls, and marks on the walls. He looked around and felt anger rise. Someone had suffered here. He clicked his comm. "These are prison rooms." "She's close." Elena replied, "I see the main hallway. 10 guards, maybe more. I can take a few." Levi said, "I'm almost at the power core, ready to shut it down." Mason whispered, "Do it, then we strike." A few seconds later, all the lights in the building went out. The siren stopped. Darkness filled the halls. Only emergency lights remained. Then the team moved. Elena fired quickly. 3 guards fell before they knew what happened. Mason used the shadows, taking down guards with speed and silence. Levi kicked open a door and threw in a flash bomb. The blast lit up the room, and the enemies inside dropped to the ground, stunned. Step by step, they moved deeper. Then Mason found a locked door with a human voice behind it. He pressed his ear close. "Please help me." It was Claire. He pulled out his tool and worked fast. Elena covered the hallway. Levi stood ready with his weapon. In 20 seconds, the lock clicked. Mason opened the door. Claire was lying on the floor. Her face was pale, and her body was weak. She looked up, scared. Mason knelt beside her. "Claire, I'm Mason. We're here to take you home." Her eyes filled with tears. She tried to sit up, but she couldn't. Elena came in and knelt too. "You're safe now." Levi stepped forward and gave Claire a small drink of water. She took it slowly, shaking. Mason lifted her gently. "We have to move. Can you hold on?" Claire nodded weakly. The team moved quickly now. Elena checked corners. Levi watched the rear. Mason carried Claire with care. The building was waking up again. More guards were coming. Levi set 2 more charges near the exit. "We have one shot at this," he said. Elena led them to a side hallway. It was narrow, but it went straight to the outside fence. They reached a steel door. Locked. Levi placed a small bomb on it and said, "Cover your ears." Boom. The door flew open and fresh air rushed in. They ran through the smoke and out into the night. But they were not safe yet. A transport ship was parked not far away, hidden under a cover of trees. It had cloaking tech, but the guards had likely tracked it. As the team reached the ship, a group of enemies appeared from behind the rocks. They opened fire. Mason shielded Claire. Elena took cover and fired back. Levi tossed a flash grenade. The light stunned the attackers. Jared's voice came through their earpieces. "Get to the ship. Backup is not coming." Levi opened the ship's ramp. "Let's go." Mason carried Claire inside. Elena and Levi followed, firing behind them. The ramp closed and the ship lifted off. Claire lay on a medical bed. She looked up at Mason. "You came," she whispered. Mason gave a small smile. "We always come for our own." The ship flew into the sky, leaving the burning base behind. The mission was not over yet, but Claire was alive, and the soldiers had done what they came to do. They had entered through shadows and brought light back with them. The ship flew fast through the sky. Mason sat beside Claire, who was lying on the medical bed. Her eyes were half open. She looked tired, but there was peace in her face now. She was safe. Elena checked the back room, making sure no one was following them. Levi stayed near the ship's controls, watching the radar. Jared's voice came through the radio again. "Good work. Get her to the safe zone. A medical team will meet you there." Mason looked down at Claire. "You hear that? We're almost there." Claire blinked slowly. "Thank you," she whispered. The ship landed in a quiet valley far from cities. It was dark and the stars shone above them. A small camp was set up in the trees. A few doctors waited with lights and medical gear. Mason carried Claire out. She was light in his arms. The doctors quickly placed her on a bed and checked her wounds. One gave her water. Another started healing sprays for her bruises. The lead doctor looked at Mason and said, "She'll survive, but she needs rest." Mason nodded. He stepped back and watched as the team worked. Elena and Levi sat near the fire, silent. They were tired, but alert. No one knew if the enemy would come looking. Mason walked over to them. "She's strong," he said. "She didn't give up." Levi looked at the stars. She was just a kid. They locked her up, hurt her like she was a weapon. Elena added, "That's why we're here. To stop that." Hours passed. The sun started to rise. The camp stayed quiet. Birds flew overhead. It was peaceful, but the team knew it wouldn't last. Claire opened her eyes fully. She looked around and saw trees, the blue sky, and people with kind faces. She sat up a little. Mason walked over. "How do you feel?" Better, she said. It's quiet here. He smiled. You're safe now. But I need to ask you some things. Only if you're ready. Claire nodded. Who took you? He asked. Claire thought for a moment. They were part of a group called the Black Wing. They don't follow the Veltraxian laws. They said Earth was dangerous. They wanted to scare us. Maybe start a war. Mason's eyes narrowed. Did anyone from the government help them? Claire shook her head. I don't know, but they had weapons, a base, and guards. Someone rich was helping them. Mason shared the information with Jared. This will help us, Jared said. We'll use it. Good work. Later that day, Claire walked outside with help. She looked at the team. You didn't have to come for me, she said. Mason answered, Yes, we did. No one hurts one of ours and gets away with it. Levi smiled. You're part of Earth. That means you're part of us. Elena gave a small nod. You're not alone anymore. Claire smiled. Her eyes were soft but strong. I want to help. I want people to know what happened. Mason looked at her. Then we'll help you do that. The ship was ready again. Claire sat inside with the team. They flew toward the main Earth base on Veltraxia. It was time to speak up. Time to tell the truth. When they landed, Earth officials met them. They were shocked by Claire's condition. Doctors rushed her inside. Mason gave a full report. Elena handed over data they collected from the base. Levi shared the pictures and logs he saved. The story spread quickly. People on Earth were angry. People on Veltraxia were shocked. Some leaders said they didn't know. Others tried to lie. But the truth was clear now. Claire gave a short speech. She stood still weak but brave. I came to learn. I came in peace. But they locked me up and hurt me. Not because of what I did, but because of what I am, a human. I won't let it happen to anyone else. The world watched and listened. Later, in a quiet room, Mason stood beside her. You did good, he said. Claire looked up. You saved me. He shook his head. You saved yourself. We just helped. The war hadn't started, but the warning had been given. Earth would not be silent, and no one would ever forget the girl who came back from the dark. Claire sat quietly on a bench near the Earth base. The garden was small, but full of green plants and soft flowers. The air was clean. Birds sang nearby, but her mind was still heavy. She remembered the cell, the pain, and the fear. Mason sat beside her. He didn't say much. He just sat there so she wouldn't feel alone. They hurt others too, Claire said slowly. I heard them crying. I wasn't the only one. Mason looked at her. Then we find them. We stop the ones behind this. Back inside the base, Jared met with the team. His face was serious. You did well, he said, but this is not over. The Black Wing Group is bigger than we thought. They have more bases, more prisoners. We now have a location of one of their strongholds. Elena leaned forward. Another rescue mission? Jared nodded. And a warning. We want them to know what happens when they cross the line. Levi grinned. Time to show them what we do best. Mason looked at the map. We go and get the prisoners and burn the place down. Jared agreed. No mercy this time. Claire stood at the door. She had been listening. I want to help, she said. Mason shook his head. You need rest. I'm not going into battle, she said, but I can help. I know how they think. I know what the inside looks like. I can show you where they keep people. Jared nodded. All right, you'll brief the team. Then you stay here. Claire spent the next hour showing the team the layout of the base. She remembered rooms, patrol paths, and even hidden doors. Her help gave the team an edge. That night, the ship lifted into the sky again. Mason, Elena, and Levi sat in silence. They all felt it. This time was different. This time was personal. The target was deep in the mountains. The base was hidden under stone and ice. Guards were everywhere. Cameras and turrets watched the paths. The team landed far away and walked through the snow. Their gear kept them warm and hidden. They moved like shadows. Elena used her scope to mark the guards. Mason planned a path in. Levi set traps along the exit. The plan was clear. Go in fast, hit hard, and leave nothing standing. When they reached the wall, Mason climbed first. He cut the wires and jumped down. Elena followed with her rifle ready. Levi placed a charge on the door. Boom! The wall shook. Alarms rang. Guards ran out with weapons. But the team was faster. Elena took down the first group with quick shots. Mason fought close, moving between enemies like wind. Levi launched smoke grenades and fired his heavy blaster. They moved room by room. Prison doors were kicked open. Humans, some weak and scared, looked up with hope. The team led them to the safe zone. A young boy grabbed Mason's arm. "Is my sister safe?" he asked. Mason knelt. "If she was taken, we'll find her." Deeper in the base, they found a lab. Inside were tools, chains, and machines. Elena's face went cold. "This wasn't just a prison," she said. "It was a place of pain." Mason placed a charge on the wall. "We destroy it all." Levi downloaded data from the computers. "Let's give Jared something to use." They kept moving. The last group of prisoners was in a large room with steel bars. Levi blew the door open. The people inside cried out with joy. Outside, enemy ships were arriving. More guards came with heavy weapons. Jared's voice came through the comm reinforcements inbound. "Hold your ground." Levi triggered the traps he placed. Explosions lit the night. Enemies were thrown back. Mason carried a hurt prisoner. Elena covered them with her rifle. Levi led the group to the extraction point. A ship arrived, opening its doors. The team helped everyone on board. Just before leaving, Mason turned and looked at the burning base. "This is for Claire," he said. Then they flew into the sky, the fire below lighting the clouds. Back at the Earth base, Claire watched the news. Images of freed prisoners of the burning base, of Division 9 soldiers saving lives. Tears filled her eyes, but she smiled. The world saw the message. Earth protects its people, and the enemy had felt the fire in their blood. Claire sat in a meeting room inside the Earth base. Her body was healing, and her heart felt stronger now. Around her were Earth leaders, military officers, and a few kind faces from the embassy. On the table were reports, photos, and data chips, all taken from the Blackwing base. She took a deep breath and began to speak. "I saw things in that place that no one should see. People were locked up just for being human. They were used, hurt, and forgotten. We can't stay silent." The room was quiet. Everyone listened. Claire continued, "I'm not special. I was just a girl who wanted to study. But if this can happen to me, it can happen to others too." An older woman, a peace advisor, leaned forward. "Do you want to testify at the council meeting?" Claire nodded. "Yes, I want to speak the truth." That night, she sat in her room, looking out the window. The stars above Ultraxia were bright. Mason knocked on the door and stepped in. "You did well today," he said. Claire smiled. "I couldn't have done it without you." Mason shook his head. "You're stronger than you think." They sat together in silence for a while. Then Mason said, "We found more bases. Jared wants to send teams out to shut them down." "Will you go?" she asked. He nodded. "Yes, it's what we do." "I want to help," Claire said softly. "Not in the field, but maybe from here. I want to talk to the council. I want to build something that protects students. No one should feel alone out there." Mason smiled. "You've already started something." The next morning, Claire stood before the Earth Veltraxia Council. It was a big room with high walls and many seats. Humans and aliens sat side by side. Cameras recorded everything. She walked to front and faced the leaders. "My name is Claire Monroe. I came to Veltraxia to learn. Instead, I was taken, locked in a dark cell, and hurt by people who hated me for what I am. But I'm not here to blame all of you. I'm here to ask for change." She took a deep breath. "There are others like me, students, workers, travelers, who trust the system, who believe in peace. But peace means nothing if we don't protect the people living under it." She looked at the Veltraxian leaders. "You must do better. We must do better. Let this never happen again." The room was silent. Then, slowly, people began to clap. A few stood. Even some of the Veltraxians bowed their heads. Claire stepped down and walked back to her seat. Her hand shook, but her heart felt steady. After the meeting, Jared met her outside. "You changed something in there," he said. Claire looked at him. "So, did your team." In the days that followed, news spread across both worlds. The truth about Blackwing was out. Some leaders denied it. Some tried to hide. But the evidence was strong. Veltraxia's main government arrested several key people. They shut down secret programs and promised safety to all off-world visitors. Earth shared technology to help monitor human students in alien schools. Jared called Mason, Elena, and Levi back to Earth for rest. Their job had been hard, but it was done for now. At the base, Claire met them before they left. "You gave me my life back," she said. Levi smiled. "You gave us a reason." Elena nodded. "Stay strong." Mason looked at her with calm eyes. "This isn't the end. It's a beginning." Claire watched their ship fly away. She stood on the landing pad, wind in her hair, and smiled. Later, she started a new program. It helped human students travel safely. It gave them training, alerts, and helplines. She named it the Unity Program. She also met with survivors from other rescue missions. Some were scared. Some were angry. Claire spoke with all of them. She listened. She gave them hope. One day, she got a letter from a student on a distant world. It read, "I feel safe because of you. Thank you." Claire placed the letter on her desk. She looked out at the stars. She had been a prisoner, but now she was a voice, a light in the dark, and she would never let that light fade. The Earth base was quiet that morning. The sun rose slowly over the hills, casting soft light on the buildings and trees. Claire stood near the edge of the platform, watching the sky. She held a small medal in her hand. It had the symbol of Division 9 on it. Today was a special day. A memorial was set up near the main garden. It was simple, made of stone and glass, with the names of rescued prisoners and those who didn't survive. Flowers were placed at its base. People stood in silence, remembering. Claire walked forward and placed the medal on the stone. She touched with names and closed her eyes. "I'll never forget you," she whispered. Behind her, Mason, Elena, and Levi stood together. They had returned from another mission, looking tired but calm. They watched Claire with respect. "She's stronger than before," Elena said. Mason nodded. "She's a fighter." Levi smiled. "She's one of us." After the ceremony, the team sat with Claire near the garden. "We're heading out again tomorrow," Mason said. "Another base?" Claire asked. "Yes," Elena replied. "There are still people out there. Still danger." Claire looked at them. "Do you ever feel tired?" Levi leaned back. "Every time. But we keep going. Because someone has to." Claire smiled. "Then I'll keep doing my part too." They shared quiet laughter. It was the kind of peace that came after storms. Later that week, Claire spoke at a school where new exchange students were preparing to go to other planets. She stood on the stage, looking at their young faces. "I went to another world with dreams. I faced pain, but I also found hope. You're not alone. If trouble comes, we'll find you. We'll protect you. Always." The students clapped. Some wiped away tears. Claire stepped down and talked with them, answering questions and giving advice. One girl asked, "Were you scared?" Claire nodded. "Yes, but I kept going, and that made me strong." At night, Claire sat in her small room at the base. She looked at the stars and thought about her journey. From a student to a prisoner, from a victim to a leader. Her comm beeped. It was a message from Jared. "New group of students landing tomorrow. Can you give the welcome talk?" Claire typed back, "Of course." She walked outside and saw Mason sitting alone. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked. Mason looked up. "Too quiet." Claire sat next to him. "You saved me. You changed my life." He shook his head. "You saved yourself. We just opened the door." Claire looked at the sky. "I want to do more. I want to lead this program one day." Mason smiled. "You will, and when you do, the galaxy will be a safer place." The next morning, a new ship landed. Students stepped out, full of wonder and hope. Claire stood at the front, ready to greet them. Welcome to Veltraxia. You're safe here. And if you ever feel afraid, remember this. Earth will never forget you. The students smiled, their fear replaced by courage. Far above, Division 9 flew through space silent and strong. Their mission continued, but they knew something had changed. Claire Monroe had become more than a rescued girl. She had become a symbol that no matter how dark things became, the light would return, because Earth protects its own. And Claire, once broken, now stood unbroken.